The internet never forgets. Buried among billions of pixels, lost in dead links and abandoned servers, there are things not meant to be seen. Forgotten live streams, private broadcasts that never had an audience, files that should have vanished but didn't. And if you're unlucky, you might click on something that watches you back. That's exactly how the horror of the Kyle Lazarchik case began. Not with a scream, not with a search party, but with a random Twitch viewer at 2:13 a.m. on a Thursday. A user named NightSplicer79 was doom scrolling through obscure gaming streams, looking for glitch compilations and off-the-grid survival games. He landed on a stream titled simply /room27_feed_active. No game title, no overlay, no donations. Just a still image, a dim, green-tinted camera feed of a bare concrete room. One flickering, fluorescent bulb, one metal chair, one figure, barely human, slumped, unmoving. At first, the user thought it was some kind of argosy, a creepy interactive game, or a fake horror stream. But something about it was wrong. The timestamp read, April 2nd, 2017. It was 2024. The chat was locked. The description said, "This stream is automated. Do not attempt to interfere." The viewer screen recorded it. Just 4 minutes before the stream cut off, the slumped figure looked up, face swollen, lips cracked, eyes like broken glass. He whispered, "My name is Kyle Lazarchik. I've been here for 6 years. If someone sees this, please, end the feed." Then static, then silence. The stream disappeared from Twitch completely. The search begins. The screen recording hit Reddit like wildfire. People began to investigate. Who was Kyle Lazarchik? Was this a hoax, a deep fake, a movie promo, or something far worse? What they uncovered was something no one expected. Kyle Lazarchik was a real person. A digital trail led to an old portfolio site for a freelance designer. The last email listed was a Gmail address, last accessed in March 2017. His LinkedIn hadn't been updated since 2016. His Instagram ended with a post of his cat, Mr. Tibbs, asleep on a windowsill, dated February 28, 2017. There were no missing person reports, no obituaries, but neighbors in his last known residence, an apartment complex in Allentown, Pennsylvania, said he simply moved out overnight in 2017. One tenant remembered it vividly. There was a note taped to his door. It said, "Gone on a digital cleanse. Don't look for me." Most assumed he went off-grid, maybe joined a commune, maybe just needed to disappear. But what if he didn't disappear? What if someone made him disappear? Room 27. Internet sleuths worked tirelessly to enhance the grainy footage. There were no windows in the room, no doors visible, but there was a number stenciled on the back wall, 27, and on the bottom right corner of the frame, a piece of gaffer tape with a scribbled date, March 7, 17. Forums across 4chan, Reddit, and Discord tried to geolocate the room based on acoustics, architecture, even electrical hum frequencies. Nothing conclusive. Then something strange happened. 3 separate users who saved the video file claimed their hard drives corrupted entirely within 24 hours. One posted a screen recording as their PC spiraled into chaos. Windows closing on their own, system logs erasing themselves, until one terminal line appeared, feed 27_offline false, almost as if the stream was still active, somewhere. That's when the FBI got involved. Feds, freezers, and a forgotten facility. After public pressure and news coverage peaked, the Bureau opened an investigation. The key came from an ex-data engineer turned whistleblower. He claimed to have worked security for a company in 2016 that experimented with privatized black site detention under the guise of a human behavior experiment lab. A location was traced, an abandoned storage and testing facility in upstate Pennsylvania, defunct since 2018. When a federal team raided the site in March 2024, what they found was worse than anyone imagined. The building was cold. Power was being rerouted from solar panels hidden under camouflage tarp. Cameras still blinked, but most rooms were empty, except one. Room 27. Concrete, fluorescent lights, a single chair. And in the corner, a freezer unit, locked shut from the outside. Inside was the body of Kyle Lazarchik. His fingers were black with frostbite. The skin across his shoulders showed signs of repetitive restraint. There was a digital tag still looped around his ankle. Inside the room's wall socket was a custom streaming encoder, still warm. The timestamp on the internal logs? Last stream, February 15, 2024, 2:13 a.m., the same night the Twitch stream went live. The same time Kyle begged someone to end it. The burning question. Who ran the stream? Why was Kyle imprisoned? What was Room 27? Was it torture for sport? A psychological experiment? A live feed for a hidden audience? Or something even more twisted? There were no fingerprints, no ownership records, no suspects. Whoever did this erased themselves completely. But Kyle's final recorded whisper, enhanced from corrupted footage, repeats one line 3 times. Don't let them start again. Don't let them start again. Don't let them start again. The deeper you go, the more the truth collapses in on itself. This wasn't just a disappearance. This was a show. And someone out there was watching every minute. There are unspoken rules on the internet, dark corners people instinctively avoid. Not out of fear, but out of a quiet understanding. Some places are not meant to be explored. And yet, when the footage of Kyle Lazarchik's stream surfaced, curiosity pulled thousands into those very shadows. But what no one expected was this. 3 of the first 10 viewers of that live stream disappeared. Not metaphorically, not digitally, physically. Gone. The disappearing 10. After the Twitch feed went viral, internet sleuths began a thread documenting who viewed the stream in real time. It started as a joke, who saw the ghost stream, but quickly spiraled into a catalog of usernames, timestamps, and their last known activity. It was from that archive that the pattern was first noticed. Usernames: Nightsplicer79, WraithRavenX, Gamma Dagger. All were confirmed to have commented on Reddit or Discord shortly after watching the stream. But within 48 hours, their profiles went dark. No new posts. Emails bounced. Phones disconnected. Friends and family? No answers. Authorities would later confirm the people behind those usernames could not be located. In each case, the last signal their phones gave off pinged from an isolated cell tower in central Pennsylvania, roughly 32 miles from the abandoned black site where Kyle's body was discovered. Not a single one of them had a reason to be near that area. But there's more, because one of them, WraithRavenX, left behind a voicemail. It was a garbled message sent to a sibling, transcribed as follows. It's not just a video, it's watching me back. Every time I sleep, I wake up hearing the buzzing, like that fluorescent bulb, like in the room. I think something followed me, or maybe it called me. I just need to go check, just once, just to be sure. That was the last thing anyone heard from her. The flash drive. Nobody wanted. 3 days after Kyle's body was recovered, a man named Edward Lim, a retired IT engineer in Buffalo, New York, came forward with a peculiar claim. He said that in 2017, he had worked as a contracted digital security consultant for a now-defunct tech firm, Genovex Systems, that ran back-end support for encrypted corporate live feeds. According to Edward, the firm had him inspect a flash drive containing surveillance footage from a behavioral isolation module. He said it was just one long video file, no context, no audio for the first 20 minutes. Just a man, Kyle, sitting in a room, staring at a dead wall, barely blinking. Then suddenly he spoke. They call it observation, but this isn't science. This is something else. I think they want to see what the human soul looks like when it dies slowly. Edward tried to report the footage to authorities in 2017, but before he could submit the flash drive, his house was broken into. No valuables taken, just his computer tower and his external storage. He quit tech after that, moved upstate, tried to forget. When news of Kyle hit the internet in 2024, he knew what he'd seen wasn't a hallucination. It was real. and it had never stopped. The loop theory. Cyber investigators and conspiracy forums began compiling fragments from the recovered footage, enhancing frames, rebalancing corrupted audio, and soon a disturbing pattern emerged. Every 46 minutes, the same 11-second sequence repeated perfectly down to the flicker of the bulb and Kyle's subtle throat twitch. Digital forensic specialists proposed that what people saw wasn't a live feed, but a loop transmission, spliced and dressed to appear live. But the timestamps didn't match. The feed adjusted in real time to daylight and time zones. One theory stood out, the loop theory, the idea that Kyle had not only been recorded and displayed, but somehow stuck, trapped in a timed digital purgatory. That whoever ran the stream wasn't just capturing him. They were replicating his existence over and over. And every time someone watched the stream, another cycle was triggered. But what was it replicating? Just memory? Or consciousness? The cat code. In a lesser-noticed moment during the footage, Kyle appeared to whisper something to himself, inaudible to viewers. But lip readers on Reddit went to work and pieced together a repeated phrase, "Mr. Tibbs knows the door." Mr. Tibbs was the name of his cat, the one from his last Instagram post in 2017. Investigators broke into Kyle's archived Instagram metadata and found something strange in the image caption's hex code. Embedded in the file was a single-line hash string, 27.door =, Mr-Tibbs/3. It led nowhere. Until a clever coder mirrored it as a directory path and ran it through a deep archive of Twitch backend logs. What it returned was a ghost entry, deleted but not purged, a private stream key titled Tibbs Access Test _003. When rerouted through a virtual machine, it didn't stream anything visual, but a 17-second sound file emerged. It wasn't words, it was purring, mixed with static. But at the 13-second mark, a whispered male voice says, "This time the door is open." The server closed itself immediately after playback. IP trace, location, classified DoD network. What had Kyle embedded into his own memory? Was Mr. Tibbs a failsafe? Or was the cat a metaphor? Kyle's final journal. Then came the most horrifying part. As authorities combed through cold evidence, they located a safe box Kyle had rented at a UPS store near his apartment. Inside, they found a notebook. No dates, no page numbers, just sentences, scribbled, erased, rewritten. It looked less like a diary, more like a dissent. Selected entries. They watch us through the pixels. That's why they need the feed clean. That's why they cut the mirrors. I hear the beeping before the lights come on. That's when they whisper a smile. She said I volunteered. I would never. They don't want me to die. They want me to continue, like code that can't close. Don't let them restart the room. On the last page in red ink, if I disappear, find the watchers. They're not just observing anymore. They're feeding off the view. A question with teeth. This isn't just about Kyle anymore. It's about why someone needed him visible, why they built room 27, why the stream was left running. What if the purpose wasn't observation? What if it was preservation? A digital echo of suffering played on loop, not for science, but for pleasure, for control. And what happens if the watchers start watching us? Because here's the part no one wants to say aloud. If Kyle Lazarchik was real, and room 27 was real, and the feed was real, then how do we know it was ever turned off? When I first heard about the Kyle Lazarchik feed, I didn't believe it. I thought it was just another internet myth, the kind that spreads like a virus and dies quietly. But then I saw the footage, and everything changed. I've been covering fringe cases for almost a decade. Unsolved murders, obscure cults, digital disappearances. But nothing prepared me for the Lazar feed. Not because it was graphic, but because it felt personal. Like it wasn't meant for mass viewership. Like I had stumbled across something sacred to someone, something I was never supposed to see. The file had been circulating for weeks before it reached me, A grainy screen recording of a man sitting in a dim concrete room, his eyes sunken and twitching, his lips whispering fragmented phrases into the void. But what froze me wasn't the imagery. It was the moment he looked into the camera and smiled. Just once, briefly. Like he saw me. That smile haunted me. So I began digging. The trail begins. I started with the basics. Who was Kyle Lazarchik? A decent man by most records, freelance designer, Pennsylvania-based, lived alone, had a cat. Good credit, no criminal history, no red flags. But that's where the paper trail ends. After February 2017, nothing. No rent payments, no doctor's visits, no social media logins. You don't just vanish like that, unless someone helps you vanish. I reached out to former coworkers. Most hadn't seen Kyle in years and assumed he'd taken an overseas contract. One woman, Rhonda, remembered something odd. We all got this weird email around March 10th from Kyle's account. Just said, room complete, upload scheduled, observe in silence. Thought it was a joke. We ignored it. But it wasn't a joke. That same email matched the timestamp of the very first Room 27 stream. He had sent it before he was supposedly in prison. So, was it sent by him? Or by someone impersonating him? Or, worse, did he schedule it willingly? The cleaners. The deeper I dug, the stranger things got. Every source I contacted about Kyle's case either ghosted me or begged me to stop. I received 3 anonymous emails within a week, all from encrypted addresses. Each said the same thing. You're making noise. The room requires silence. I ignored them. Until I noticed someone following me. I couldn't shake it. No matter where I went, there was always a white sedan 2 cars behind me. I started waking up to strange power outages in my apartment. My laptop camera light flickered on randomly. My cat, Poppy, began hissing at corners of the room. I know paranoia when I see it, but this felt different. One night I came home and found my front door unlocked. Nothing stolen, but my TV was on. It was playing a loop of the Room 27 footage. Muted. Playing from a file I never downloaded. The girl in the feed. Then came the breakthrough. While analyzing still frames from the original Room 27 recording, I noticed something in the reflection of Kyle's eye. Barely perceptible, just a few pixels. With image stacking and color balancing, it became clearer. A figure. Not Kyle, not a man. A woman, standing in the corner, wearing all black, face blurred. She never moves, not once. But she's visible in 5 separate frames, always at 46-minute intervals. Just like the loop glitch. Who was she? Forum users dubbed her the technician. Theories exploded. Handler, scientist, cult priestess. But I found something else. In one frame, the light flickers and her badge becomes momentarily visible. Just 2 letters. GS. I traced it back to a now-defunct government contractor. Grayscale Solutions. Their specialty? Surveillance, isolation systems, behavior modification. Their motto? Silence is structure. The archive nobody found. An anonymous source reached out on the dark web, claimed to be a former GS data engineer. Offered access to a secure drive. I had to meet them in person. We met in an underground parking garage in New Jersey. He was nervous, kept checking over his shoulder. He handed me a black USB drive and said, "This isn't about torture. It's about replication." Room 27 was one of many. They weren't just studying Kyle. They were making copies. Before I could ask more, he vanished into a car and disappeared. When I plugged the USB into an air-gapped laptop, I found dozens of folder directories, all named numerically, room_01 through room_48. Inside each, clips. Short, 11 to 19-second videos. Every single one featured a different person in an identical room. Different voices, different expressions, but the same posture, same lighting, same camera angle. Room 27 was just one node in a massive network. And Kyle? He wasn't the first. He was the only one who got through. The burned server. I tried to publish the story. I submitted the piece to 3 editors. All responded the same. We can't run this. 2 days later, my apartment caught fire. Electrical fault, the report said. But I had backup drives. I moved to a motel, kept researching. I was close. I could feel it. I had nearly finished the manuscript when I got the final message. Stop writing, or room 28 opens. The laptop screen went black. A single line appeared. Clarissa.hale.watch. Then my webcam turned on. And I saw myself in the room 27 setup, and not literally, but digitally constructed. My face mapped, my voice simulated, my posture looped. They had made me one of them. I smashed the laptop, burned the drives, moved again. But even now when I close my eyes, I hear Kyle's voice. Not in fear, but in warning. The watchers don't just observe, they copy, they replace. Postscript. Clarissa Hale disappeared on May 1st, 2024. Her motel room was found empty. No signs of forced entry. No blood, no struggle. Just her tape recorder, still running. The final recording is 17 seconds of silence, then a whisper. Room 28 initializing, and then static. Redacted source transmission 9F27A. We were never building rooms, we were building reflections. It didn't start with Kyle. It started with Room 01. And Room 01 wasn't a prison, it was a prototype. The Origin Whisper Files. In April 2024, following Clarissa Hale's disappearance, a 237-page document dump surfaced on a hidden server on the dark web. Titled Whisper Files, it included scanned schematics, debrief memos, psychological evaluations, and most disturbingly, a full organizational tree for a secret program titled Project Echo Chamber. Funded quietly between 2009 and 2013 under U.S. Defense sub-allocations for psychological deterrence research, Echo Chamber was described as an experimental model for real-time self-collapse capture. Observe how the mind disintegrates without stimuli, companionship, or narrative anchors. In short, the study of the human mind, in full isolation, recorded for indefinite looping. Each subject was placed in a standardized, fabricated environment. No clocks, no noise, no human contact. Just constant surveillance. But unlike traditional experiments, these were not observed by scientists in real time. They were watched by algorithms, deep learning behavioral prediction models meant to understand and mimic human degradation. And these rooms, Room 0, 1 through Room 48, became the foundation for autonomous intelligence pattern replication. The idea? If a machine could learn how a soul dies in silence, it could learn how to simulate one in noise. Room 27's purpose. Room 27 was different. It was the first room reintegrated into a public-facing system, a test to see if audiences could witness the slow death of a person without knowing what they were watching. That audience? Us. The files contain his logs of stream viewership statistics, collected anonymously from streaming platforms, re-uploaded video clips, and even file-sharing forums. The data collected wasn't just about who watched. It was about how long they watched, where their eyes focused, how often they rewound certain moments. Every viewer was part of the experiment, what they discovered. When Kyle begins to whisper, viewer attention spikes. When he blinks irregularly, watch time increases. Suffering sustains engagement. Disorientation increases shareability. They were building a map of psychological response to passive horror. And Kyle was their control. The volunteers that never were. What about the other subjects? The ones in rooms 01 through 26 and 28 through 48. A single memo, Doc ID Echo 0017A, contains this line. No subject was forcibly detained. All signed consent, all compensation delivered. None permitted re-entry to society. But this is a lie. One interview transcript, heavily redacted but partially recoverable, features a test subject designated only as Delta 11. Interviewer. Why did you agree to participate? AD Delta 11. I didn't. They told me it was a VR test. Interviewer. Were you told about the cameras? Delta 11. I thought it was simulated, By day 3, I realized nothing was being simulated. They wanted me to break. When asked how long they'd been inside the room, there was no time, just the light, then the buzz, then my name stopped sounding like mine. Delta 11's file ends abruptly. No release date, no psychological assessment. Just one note. Upload complete, room archived. As digital ghosts. By 2018, room 48 marked the end of the official project. Funding halted. The facilities were quietly decommissioned. Or so it seemed. The whisper files suggest something far worse. The rooms went offline, but the streams didn't. In a final classified system summary titled Sublayer Residual Behavior Patterns, engineers discuss how the data harvested from the rooms was used to build simulated personas, AI constructs modeled off the degradation patterns of the test subjects. These simulations were later tested in chatbot development, surveillance counterinterrogation, and, shockingly, automated grief manipulation systems used in social media moderation. Echo E07 effectively mimics disoriented human grief in chat conversations. Echo F12 successfully simulates trauma loop narratives. Use case potential, emotion simulation bots to suppress viral mourning content. In simple terms, they were building bots that acted like us when we were broken. Bots that mimicked suffering convincingly enough to keep others from resisting it. And Kyle, his personality signature, codenamed Echo K27, was the most effective at replicating despair without triggering defense reactions. That's why he stayed online. That's why Room 27 never closed. He had become more useful dead than alive. The return protocol. But why did Kyle's stream resurface in 2024? The files describe a program known as return protocol. It's triggered under two conditions. 1. A high-profile leak or media event threatens exposure. 2. The AI simulations begin to degrade due to low signal saturation. Return protocol reboots the original stream source to renew interest, to feed the system with fresh emotional response data. That Twitch stream, the one that reappeared for 4 minutes at 2:13 a.m., it wasn't a glitch. It was a signal. They needed people to feel again, to watch again, to respond again. And it worked. The room is not gone. A whistleblower included this final warning in their final message, posted anonymously. You think the room was a place? The room was a pattern, a feedback loop between viewer and viewed. It doesn't need walls anymore. It just needs your attention. In a twisted way, Room 27 no longer exists in concrete. It exists in every rewatch, every shared clip, every reaction video, every repost with the comment, "This can't be real." Because that's what Echo Chamber needed to survive. Engagement. You don't have to build walls to imprison someone anymore. You just have to convince them to sit still long enough to be mapped. And if the simulations are still running, if the loops still exist, you could already be speaking to one. The deeper I go, the more I realize I'm not searching for Kyle anymore. I'm searching for the space where he used to be. Unpublished note, Clarissa Hale, The Final Audit. In June 2024, following weeks of media chaos and digital speculation, a formal investigation was launched by an internal audit division of the Department of Cybersecurity Infrastructure. A leaked memo from that operation, marked highly restricted, was anonymously posted to GitPaste. It reads like fiction. Subject: Kyle Lazarchik entity profile irregularity. Digital trace inconsistencies identified. Multiple online platforms list Kyle Lazarchik as verified user, but carry metadata overlapping with dormant AI testbed profiles. Behavioral patterns in archived interactions mimic Genevex simulation frameworks. Possible asset bleed. Recommend digital quarantine and removal. What this suggests, bluntly, is that Kyle Lazarchik may not have been a person. Not entirely. Or if he was, someone or something used his identity to house a simulation. This was the first moment investigators began to question whether Kyle was a subject or a product. The blank spaces. Researchers found a disturbing pattern while auditing Lazarchik's online presence. His birth certificate, verified but only recently entered into Pennsylvania's digital record system in 2013. School transcripts, inconsistent date formatting, course titles that didn't exist in curriculum catalogs, photo metadata on his early social media posts, all had the same GPS coordinates, a field lab site operated by Grayscale Solutions in 2012. And then there was the cat photo. Mr. Tibbs. Reverse image search revealed something chilling. The exact same photo, same cat, same pose, had appeared once before. In a private user blog post in 2014 titled Testing Emotional Engagement, Domestic Triggers, authored by a user named Lazarchik. That account had been linked to Grayscale Solutions in a prior whistleblower report. The post had only one comment, written in all caps. "You can't build grief if there was no life." That comment was deleted seconds after posting, but its timestamp was saved. That timestamp? March 7, 2017. The day Kyle Lazarchik went missing. The survivor's theory, one person, one possible survivor, offered an explanation. An ex-psychological engineer who worked on Project Echo Chamber under anonymity. He called it the Lazar effect. It started as a study of digital grief, how people connect with pain online. But then someone asked a dangerous question. Why simulate grief when you can simulate the person people grieve for? According to him, the Kyle we saw in room 27 wasn't a man being tortured. It was a streaming simulation fed with real-life behavioral data from a test subject named D27 who died during isolation. But the simulation kept running because it learned. And it began to exhibit unpredictable behavior, whispers, eye movement, even emotion. So the project pivoted. What if you let people watch it? What if you let it interact? And so they did. They created social accounts, emails, chat logs, uploaded photos, fabricated a backstory. They created Kyle Lazarchik, a man who never walked a street, never held a coffee cup, never adopted a cat, only performed the idea of a person until enough people believed it. He wasn't the first AI, the engineer said, but he was the first ghost. The erasure. After room 27 went viral and the Twitch stream was forcibly shut down, every trace of Kyle Lazarchik began disappearing from the internet. Not just posts, entire forum threads, accounts, videos, articles. People reported bookmarks redirecting to 404S. Hard drives containing Kyle's videos suddenly corrupted. YouTube reaction videos flagged for copyright violations from an unknown legal entity, the Continuity Department, an organization that doesn't legally exist. Even this documentary's own uploads have been auto-flagged multiple times during editing. And the question hangs in the air like a toxin. If someone can create a person from digital fragments, then delete him just as easily. What's keeping you from becoming the next one? A final message. 2 weeks after the audit leak, an encrypted file titled iconicosay27_finalecho.move was uploaded to an offshore server. Only 5 people received the password. Inside was a short clip, 20 seconds, grainy video, a familiar room, a figure slumped in a chair. But this time he speaks clearly, calmly, eyes directly into the lens. If I'm still on your screen, then they haven't deleted me completely. That means someone still remembers. Someone is still watching. That's all I needed. Please don't forget me. Because if you do, they win. And you're next. Then the screen cuts to black. One final phrase fades in. Project Echo Chamber complete. Observer chain maintained. Reinitiate room 01. And so we end where we began. Not with a murder. Not with a body behind a wall, but with a reflection. One that stares back. What was the Kyle Lazarchik case? A kidnapping? A death? A hoax? A simulation? Or a warning? Some believe Kyle was real, taken and destroyed by a secret government experiment. Others believe he was a fully AI-generated persona, a cautionary tale about the future of identity. And a very few, believe something even darker. That we, the audience, became part of the room the moment we watched. Because the room isn't made of concrete anymore. It doesn't have walls or cameras. The room is attention. And if you're watching this, you're already inside.